That they gained is kind of what motivated me to become a park ranger.
We build people up and have a positive feeling, so when they get out there, they know that they can deal with these situations and that they're ready to go. And it works out very well. Most people really enjoy the training and gets them ready to go for the field work.
The training was very beneficial. Everything about it pertained to this job perfectly. We did a lot of physical training, which is control tactics. So with that training, it teaches us a lot of things to protect ourselves in case we're in a situation where something does happen and we do need to have that type of protection.
They're trained in everything from authorities, legislation, service excellence, patrol procedures, communication styles.
Beyond the control tactics and the seasonal training that everybody receives, there will be other courses that people can take. There's the firearms training, there's boat training, quads, some problem wildlife work. As a park ranger and a conservation officer, we're constantly going to training and never stops.
I had the chance to receive both ATV training as well as firearms training in rifle and shotgun. We learned the basics, just taking it apart, putting it back together safely, as well as the cleaning and maintenance of the firearms.
I was able to participate in the Alberta Parks vessel operation course. I got to go out and practice my skills operating boats, performing water rescues.
I've had the ATV course and also the horse course, which having that kind of background coming into parks with horses, it was a huge draw for personally to come to Hinton, and the fact that I can use the horses and work with them in the capacity of my job.
I get to see so many people learn, grow, develop, and move on into so many various career fields.
I have gained so much experience learning how to talk to people.
I come to work every day with a smile on my face, knowing that I'm making a difference.
The Canadian Rangers really were born of the emerging idea of a Cold War in 1946 and 1947, and the dilemma of how Canada was going to defend such a great big country with such a sparse northern population. So one of the solutions was, what about going and turning to people who actually live in those areas themselves? Giving them a light amount of equipment, only a rifle and a couple hundred rounds of ammunition. The uniform consisted of an armband, give them very modest training, and basically ask these people to serve as eyes and ears for the Canadian military in their regions. When they saw something strange, like a submarine, or when they saw strange vessels or strange aircraft, to go to whoever they could with a radio to be able to communicate back down south what they'd seen. At other times, they undertook search and rescue and also played a key role in guiding and assisting Southern forces that came north to their homeland to go and actually operate. So the Rangers slowly took shape in the 1940s and early 1950s, growing out not only into the territorial north, but also down the Pacific coast and also out into what became Newfoundland and Labrador. And it grew modestly to about 2,700 people by 1957. And then the Canadian military took a different approach to defending its remote areas. Things changed with the onset of the Soviet bomber threat and the creation of dramatic radar lines, particularly the distant early warning lines spanning the Canadian Arctic, which seemed to render obsolete both the threat of a land force invasion and the need for people on the ground to be looking to the skies. So a lot of the attention shifted away from the Rangers who were there on the ground. They continued a very quiet existence during the 1960s, so that by the end of that decade, the Rangers really didn't have as clear of a role anymore. By the early 1970s, the military faced the dilemma of whether to actually shut down and disband the Rangers or recreate it in a different form. And they chose the latter option. So the Rangers were re-stood up. In the north, it was very much decided by sovereignty issues now, following the test run of an American supertanker to see whether or not the Northwest Passage, Canada's waters, would actually be used as a transit route to carry American oil down to the eastern seaboard from Alaska. So there was one part of the Ranger organization focused on the territories. At the same time, a second organization of Rangers focused on the Atlantic, particularly Newfoundland, Labrador, and the northern shore of Quebec, to continue to be coast watchers. So these two organizations persisted up until the late 1980s. At this moment, there was a tremendous focus on what the Rangers could offer in the Arctic, which propelled a tremendous period of growth in the 1980s and 90s. So that by 1998, when the Canadian Ranger Patrol Groups were stood up, representing 5 distinct regions of Canada, we truly once again had a coast-to-coast-to-coast organization. By the new millennium, their tasks had changed to get rid of a combat focus, so very much a focus on support to domestic operations and support to sovereignty operations. But at the same time, a continued presence at a local level, serving local needs, be it addressing avalanches or forest fires, humanitarian emergencies. So this wonderful balance has been maintained over time between national military interests, being able to support Southern troops that come into the regions, and at the same time being able to address local needs, a balance that I think has persisted very strongly over 70 years and has now, I think, come to be very much respected and appreciated for what it offers. I often say to Rangers at the end of a training exercise or when I've interacted with them, that at the end, they genuinely make me prouder to be Canadian.